Partial government shutdown now entering day 6 as more than 800,000 federal employees are working without pay, some not working at all. WBIR 10 News reporter Yvonne Thomas is here with an update as lawmakers are scheduled to meet again today. Good morning.
Heather, good morning, and that's right. There was no real progress made over the Christmas break, and President Donald Trump did spend the holiday at the White House and not in Florida. And on Christmas Day, President Trump talked about new sections of the wall. He mentioned he's even giving out a contract and wants to build most of the wall by the 2020 election. But just before the holidays, lawmakers did not agree to fund the $5 billion needed for the president's proposal. Instead, members of Congress proposed a $1.3 billion plan that includes border wall security without a border wall.
Possible that the shutdown will go beyond the 28th and into the new Congress.
And Congress will meet again today in Washington, but until the shutdown ends, 9 departments of the government will not receive funding, while thousands of federal workers are left waiting for answers and their paychecks. Back to you.
Yvonne, thank you. As Congress heads back to